Is the Earth merely a place we call home because it just happens to be habitable? Or is there much more to this relationship than we know? In the book PEMF, The Fifth Element of Health, learn why pulsed electromagnetic field therapy supercharges your health like nothing else. Bryant Meyers presents a much more symbiotic scenario wherein humans have evolved to depend on the magnetic field of the planet. Chad Tuthill talks to Bryant about this deep connection and the way people are unknowingly hurting themselves by building walls that cut us off from the planet we call home.
We should start by learning a bit about your background and how it led you to writing this book. Where did your interest in physics come from?
Well, I've always kind of been interested in some of the deep questions of the universe, and actually went to school for a degree in biology and pre-med and ended up switching to physics, kind of just because I had such a deep interest in it. But energy medicine is something that combines both biology or natural medicine with physics. So I kind of found a home where something that could combine my passion for both health and wellness, which is why I did change my major from pre-med, because I got a little disheartened with the medical system and at least the overall approach. We have great emergency care in this country, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to chronic illnesses, even they admit that they just don't have an answer.
Let's talk about the 5 elements of health. I mean, the first 4 are familiar for people: food, water, oxygen, and sunlight. But the 5th element is the Earth's natural PEMFs. Can you explain why that's so vitally important to our health?
Yeah, I guess I can, and that's really the whole purpose of my book, is to educate the world at large. But just kind of taking a step back, most people understand that there's a magnetic field on the Earth. It's just that most people don't realize that it's essential. And on top of that, most people don't realize that the magnetic field has a frequency to it. And along with the frequency of the magnetic field, there's a frequency called the Schumann Resonance of the ionosphere. And because we've evolved with these subtle energies since the beginning of our human evolution, it's just like the other elements, our whole body is tuned to that frequency. All our cells, all of our tissues, even our brain patterns are synchronized by these earth rhythms. To me, it's fascinating that the Schumann resonance almost exactly matches the alpha brainwave pattern of the human brain, which is verified with electroencephalograms. There's some very, very good evidence to show that not only are these PEMF earth frequencies good for us, but they're essential.
You talk a lot about the human energy field as well. Can you explain that for listeners? I think it goes a long way in explaining how electromagnetism plays a large role in our health, too.
Yeah. This is what really fascinated me. This is why I like physics, too, where I kind of shifted, because mainstream medicine is so focused on the physical body. There's very little talk about the energy fields unless you get into like EEGs and EKGs, that are measuring electrical pulses in the body, but they don't go much beyond that. They try to keep it as physical as they can. But, going back to the ancient systems of acupuncture and the Indian system of the chakras and the nadis, the ancients kind of knew, or they had a subtle understanding of the human energy field. And what's fascinating to me is these human energy fields are no longer new age or mystical or ancient or folklore. They've been proven.
And you talk about how we're almost dependently connected to the Earth. We start going a little crazy when we're separated from it. Do you think that lends credence to the whole Gaia theory?
Yeah, I think it definitely lends credence to the Gaia theory. And, it started off as the Gaia hypothesis, and because there's so much evidence, it's now called the Gaia theory. There's a lot to say on that, and I won't go into all the details, but basically, the Gaia theory views the Earth as a self-regulating organism, just as our bodies are, although it's at a much higher level of complexity and dynamics. But yes, we are sort of like cells within the Earth, metaphorically. You can't take that analogy literally, but the feedback loops are undeniable with the Gaia theory. The Earth is giving us exactly what we need. It's like this interdependence. The food that we need is what the Earth gives us. Another star system, another planet might have a total different set of elements, might have different types of foods, different types of liquids, but the point is that if you evolved on another planet, you would need the elements of that planet. There's a lot to say about the Gaia theory, but I do think it reinforces the connection between us and the planet.
Why do you think we do our best to try to sever that connection? You talk about how we have all this concrete, steel, and rubber and insulation around us. Why do humans have that instinct, I wonder, if we're so vitally fed by it, to separate ourselves from it?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's kind of what I talk about in my book, the fact that because these frequencies, we establish that they're essential, but then we got to look at, why are people, suffering and have all kinds of different health problems?
Right.
And one of the problems for sure is our disconnect from the Earth frequencies. I could say it's a twofold problem because, number one, the Earth itself, magnetic field is declining.
Is that a normal self-regulation type of decline or an actual, like, dying type of decline?
Well, I mean, based on the rate that the Earth is declining, that the field would be extinct in about 1,500 years, according to some estimates that I have read. But I don't think that that's going to happen, and neither do some leading geologists, because our Earth has gone through pole reversals. And because we're at 780,000 years based on fossil evidence without a reversal, we're long, long overdue. So instead of extinction of the magnetic field, I think it's just going through a pole reversal, which is not a pole shift. The pole shift is where the physical Earth would flip upside down. But this is just the fields are just flipping. The sun's magnetic field flips every 12 years like clockwork. To me, that's a more viable explanation.
You also say we constantly surround ourselves by microwave frequencies, and that's only getting worse.
Yeah, that's why I say it's not enough of the good frequencies of the Earth because of the twofold problem, and it's too much of the bad, which is all the electrosmog from modern technology.
What are some things that you think people would be surprised to learn they're inadvertently negatively affecting their bodies with?
I think one of the things people will be most surprised with is cordless phones. Because people hear enough about cell phones, but cordless phones are actually much worse than cell phones.
Really?
I'm talking to you on a corded phone right now. I don't use cordless phones. Why? Because especially in the U.S., cordless phones are operating 4, 5, 6 gigahertz. The connection I try to get through to people is that your microwave oven is operating at 2.4 gigahertz. Most Wi-Fi is 2.4 gigahertz, and actually 4G networks now are about 2.4 gigahertz. And it's just going to keep getting higher, because there's more and more demand for speed. And with that, you need more energy and you need more higher frequencies. I recommend people, one of the simplest things you can do is just get a corded phone in your house. Don't use cordless phones. Another thing you can do is use Ethernet directly into your computer.
And there's so many tips like that you give in the book, and I think you awaken us to so many facts that we're thankful for. There's a lot of stuff we can't go into, such as the holographic universe and quantum field theory that's really complex that people are going to have to read the book to really get a handle on. But after they've read it and they begin to understand exactly why PEMF therapy is a good idea, where can they go seek it out?
I give recommendations on my website, PEMFbook.com. On the website, you can see the current recommendations for the devices that I recommend for PEMF therapy. And, there's only been one unit that I've found on the market that really duplicates nature, really sticks to the frequencies of the Earth. I definitely encourage people to really look into PEMF therapy in general because, all the PEMF devices will give you benefits. Stronger bones, pain relief, better sleep, more energy or ATP production. It really does help the cells to produce energy. Better oxygenation, circulation, improved immunity, and then regeneration. It actually helps to regenerate tissue. PEMF itself doesn't heal the body. The body heals itself.
It just helps provide the conditions for the body to heal itself.
And interestingly, I'll just touch upon this, is that it improves the absorption of all the other elements, meaning helps with the nutrient absorption with food, helps with better hydration by opening up the cells, allowing nutrients and water to get in, oxygenation, and also detoxification, helping the waste products to move out. In my book, I focus on the benefits. I don't get into disease-specific type of things because ultimately the body heals itself regardless of whatever condition you have.